We are live. What is up, YouTube? Metal Douche Mike here. Live. Don't mind me. I'm in my room. I can move things around. All right. So, Metal Douche Mike here. Don't mind the mess and stuff. Anyway, guys, what is up? Metal Douche Mike here. I'm just gonna say hi to everyone in chat. Wait for me to people come in. So my quality's gonna be bad because I'm on a laptop. But Metal Douche Mike, I've been playing drums for about roughly 4 or 5 years. Started playing drums at my buddy Scott Chamness's house. And my biggest drumming influences growing up, the bands I listened to growing up, first band was AC/DC, Mr. Phil Rudd on drums. AC/DC got me into the door drumming wise. After Phil Rudd, I've heard Ringo from the Beatles. He's like my second drumming idol, followed by Mr. Bill Ward from Black Sabbath. And you got Cozy Powell from Rainbow, and then John Bonham. Yeah, I'm a Zeppelinite too. I'm an AC/DC Zeppelinite, troglodyte drummer. So, yeah. But yeah, everybody, please comment and chat. Like that like button. I'm probably gonna try and do more of these. I may get some people to come in, guest wise, maybe some friends. But yeah, this is my first live stream of 2021. But yeah, so I'm gonna wait until we get people to come on in, and talk about Phil Rudd. That's the main focus. We're gonna talk about a few drummers that just don't get talked about a lot. Oh, by the way, check out a channel called Bonhamology. George was just live, and I'll also give a follow to Bonzolium. Check out Terry's channel. Anyway, these are the sticks I use. These are the drumsticks I use. They're the Ahead black drumsticks. I can't show you my kit, guys. It's not at my apartment. It is at my storage unit. That's where I have my kit. It's in storage. I don't have room for it at my place, so I play when I can. Yeah, let's talk about Phil Rudd. So Phil Rudd, drummer of AC/DC. I watched the Dean Del Rey video, and I'm just gonna talk about some gigs Phil Rudd did with AC/DC. I'm gonna talk about some of his drum gear and stuff. One of the kits Phil used for a brief bit in AC/DC, and we're going to start off in the early days. So Phil Rudd, there's video footage of Phil Rudd, I think it's 1974, with a band called Buster Brown. Phil Rudd only did one record with that band, and then I think they split up in late 74 because Phil joined AC/DC. Anyway, the album was called Something to Say. Phil, I know in the Dean Del Rey interview, Phil Rudd said, I know in 74, Phil Rudd had a Ludwig Ringo kit and a Premier kit that he painted a bunch of times, and then a Slingerland. That guy, he got endorsed by Slingerland when he joined AC/DC late 74. Then at 75, here's some good AC/DC gigs you guys should check out. AC/DC Live, BBC Studios, 1975. Phil Rudd's drumming's pretty good, solid on there. You can hear him using a ride cymbal. Phil Rudd uses from 1975 to 1979, Phil Rudd used Zildjian cymbals on all those Bon Scott records with AC/DC. Phil Rudd is using Zildjian. I think it's Zildjian Avitas, Zildjian early, like 70s cymbals. And I know there's pictures from 1977 and 78 where Phil Rudd, on occasions, not rare, but on occasions, Phil Rudd would have a 2002 cymbal on one of his kits. And then another kit, he would have, it looked like a Paiste ride cymbal. It kind of looked like a 602 ride cymbal. It was right below his two Zildjian crashes. This was on the that cymbal I'm talking about is on the live movie, AC/DC Live Paris 1979 Highway to Hell tour. This was towards the tail end of the Highway to Hell tour. And Phil Rudd's on his big Sonar kit. I don't know the dimensions. I know it's a Sonarphonic kit, and it's a big phonic kit. I think it's Babunga wood or Babinga wood. And I know he has like 3 toms, some like Paiste soundage hi-hats. I know the hi-hats are Paiste. The rest of the cymbals are Zildjian. And then he has 2 snare drums. I think he had 2 snare drums he used on that show. Because I think during Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be, you can see right before the song starts, Phil Rudd switches out and then puts in a Gretsch snare drum. I think he had a Sonar snare drum. Took that out, put in a Gretsch snare drum. Another good live AC/DC bootleg is live 1978 San Francisco Waldorf. It's really the only live gig where Bon Scott sings "Kicked in the Teeth" and "Up to My Neck in You." "Kicked in the Teeth," that's the only time ever that song was ever played live once, and Phil Rudd kicks ass on that song. Here's the thing about Phil Rudd's drumming compared to Bonham. You can compare to Bonham, compared to Bill Ward, compared to Neil Peart. Phil Rudd, it's all about the pocket. It's all about groove. In a sense, I'm going to place Phil Rudd in that same category as Ringo, as Charlie Watts. What Phil Rudd did on drums compared to John Bonham. John Bonham did bring swing, but he kind of brought like a rock and roll. He kind of brought like a jazz swing, sort of like Bill Ward. Bill Ward brought in a heavier jazz swing than Bonham did. But Phil Rudd brought that swing from the early 60s and the 50s. Phil Rudd brought that Charlie Watts, that Ringo, that, that sort of boom, that basic 4/4, 2/4, like meat and potatoes in the pocket, just going full hard. I think Ringo has a pocket, Charlie Watts has a pocket. Phil Rudd is the undoubtedly the pocket drummer, possibly the coolest pocket drummer, possibly the deepest pocket, possibly the most perfect drum beat in rock and roll. Yeah, Neil Peart was perfect. John Bonham's perfect in his own way with his triplets and that fun stuff. That's fun stuff. For me as a drummer, I feel like the real job as a drummer, personally, is to lock in with the bass player and the rhythm guitarist. Don't push too much, but don't pull too back. You want to be right on the beat or right in the pocket. And I think that's what Phil Rudd does perfectly. He leaves so much room. And you do hear Phil Rudd do a little bit of I'm not gonna say it's drum fills per se, because Phil Rudd doesn't do drum fills. I mean, AC/DC, you don't need AC/DC. You have big sounding drums, but it's all in the guitar work. Angus Young, Malcolm Young, Phil Rudd, Cliff Williams, that whole rhythm section, everybody complements each other. Unlike Zeppelin, where they're professional, but everyone wants to do their own thing. In AC/DC with Phil Rudd, all Phil has to do is just look at Malcolm, look at what Malcolm Young's doing, look at what Cliff Williams is doing, and just do the damage. And I think that's why a lot of drummers today say AC/DC music is so hard, well, so simple. Here's the thing. Can you play Let There Be Rock? Can you play those 16th notes, those ghost notes on the snare and the hi-hat while going down on the downbeat on the 4? Can you stay perfectly on that beat with the endurance that Phil Rudd has? No. Can you play it's another good AC/DC song. Oh yeah, Whole Lotta Rosie. I hear a lot of drummers screw up on A Whole Lotta Rosie. That's another good beefcake drum intro. I think what Phil Rudd does is that he swings on the high, and he keeps his hi-hat half cocked open. Slight. There's a slight swing. There's like a slight swing in Phil Rudd's drumming on the hi-hat. Cause yeah. Sorry guys, I have autism, so I'm gonna like stutter a lot. So just bear with me, please. Bear with me. This is some good drumming knowledge. But Phil Rudd, I feel like, does not get his due credit as a drummer. Unlike John Bonham, unlike Ringo, unlike Bill Ward. I feel like Phil Rudd is left out because he has a tendency to just play the same stuff. But it sounds so good, man. It's good drumming. It's really good drumming, but it's simple. It's simple in the sense that you don't need to do big drum fills or try and screw up the tempo. What Phil Rudd does compared to other drummers, he just keeps time. He keeps perfect time, and he knows when to groove, and he knows when to lay off the pocket and lay in the pocket. Listen to Thunderstruck. This is my gripe with AC/DC. All three drummers, Phil Rudd, Simon Wright, Chris Slade, good drummers, fantastic drummers. Simon Wright, I mean, for the 80s AC/DC, the late 80s, that late 80s AC/DC sound, I think Simon Wright was like the perfect drummer for that period of AC/DC. Then you had 1990, Razor's Edge came out. Chris Slade is a little bit of a faster drummer. The issue I have with Chris Slade on drums, the same with Simon Wright. Even Malcolm Young said, we just put in drummers until we can get Phil back, because Phil Rudd, he's the real deal. He's the real sound behind the kit. He's the secret. He's the secret weapon of AC/DC. He's the secret sauce. And I feel that Chris Slade is a fantastic drummer. But Phil Rudd is the drummer for AC/DC. He's the guy. So that's how I feel about the whole Phil Rudd, Chris Slade, Simon Wright debate. Who's the better drummer? Me personally, Phil Rudd is the best. He's the AC/DC drummer. He may not be the first drummer in AC/DC, but he's the original drumming sound of AC/DC. They had a few guys before Phil Rudd. I think And this was during the Dave Evans era. They had a guy named Peter Clack on drums. I'm not sure if it's Clack or Clark. I think it's Peter Clack. They had an Italian session drummer during the High Voltage album when Phil just joined the band. I think the guy's name was Tony Curianti. And then they had a couple other guys, like in 74, like 73, 74. And they didn't work out. And then Phil Rudd came in, and I think Angus said he just clicked, or Phil just clicked with Malcolm, and he was their guy on drums. Anyway, that's my whole AC/DC debate. The drumming, it's good for beginners. I say if you're beginning to play drums, listen to AC/DC and listen to the Beatles. Listen to those two first, just to know how to stay in the pocket and to keep simple drum beats. I'm going to only be live for another 5 minutes or so. But another drummer I want to talk about is Cozy Powell, Mr. Cozy Powell from Rainbow, Black Sabbath. I recently discovered Cozy Powell, and man, he is a fantastic drummer. Cozy Powell had those big Yamaha, those like big double Yamaha kits. I believe Cozy Powell also had a blue Ludwig and a red Ludwig. I know he used the red Ludwig during the Ronnie James Dio era of Rainbow. Yeah. And then I think after that he switched over to Yamaha from Ludwig. But I do know Cozy Powell cymbals. I do know Cozy constantly has some giant beats and some 2002s. All like scattered all around his drum kit. And he has like two floor tom, I think he has like two tom-toms and stuff like that. See, I'm not knowledgeable on drums. I know some stuff, I don't know all of it. But Cozy Powell, Cozy Powell, another drummer that just has been forgotten about. Cozy Powell. He probably could have been greater than John Bonham. I'm gonna say Cozy Powell is very criminally underrated on drums. He's been forgotten about, and I feel like there's not a movement for Phil Rudd. There's like no drum movement for Phil Rudd or Cozy Powell or even Bill Ward. Bill Ward created metal. Bill Ward was a monster on drums. All those like heavy jazz notes on a Volume 4, Supernaut, which was John Bonham's favorite Sabbath song, which you can see why John Bonham stole some of Bill Ward's stuff. I wouldn't say John Bonham stole that drum pattern from Supernaut. He did, but hey, it's all in good fun. But Bill Ward, John Bonham, Phil Rudd, if you're a drummer, you like who you like, you grew up who you were listening to, don't let other people tell you to play a certain way. You play your certain way. Your drumming influence you. Just like Phil Rudd, John Bonham, Cozy Powell, Peter Criss influenced my drumming. Let's say you love Neil Peart. Let's say you love Peter Criss. Let's say you love Nico McBrain and you wanted to create your own drum sound, but take some of those influences and add them to your drum sound. There's nothing wrong with that. So, subscribe, like, share, please comment. Don't know when there's going to be another stream, but just hang in there. Peace.